Okay, here you can see, it's a pretty wide crack. At the top there, it starts almost a quarter of an inch. As you go down, it gets less and less. But this one, most of the way, there is some cracking going on. So anyhow, I'm going to try putting this on my hat cam and show this crack. It's probably close to a quarter of an inch. So I go fairly slow and pushing pretty hard on the caulk gun. But sometimes these cracks are so big I have to do a couple, 3 coats of caulk. Cool. Oops, it's a little thin at the bottom. I released a little bit too much. There we go. I don't know if you can see this or not. But anyhow, then I go back over with my finger and even it out a little bit, looking for places there's gaps. So right here I can see there's a little bit of a gap, so I want to get that filled. And like I may have said before, sometimes when you get really big gaps, then you've got to do a couple, 3 coats. Oops, I see there's I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's, from when I painted it, there's a couple spots here. So I just take sorry about all the vibrating of the camera. I just take my putty knife and try to get the most of it. I'll do a little bit. This got a little dusty here. You can see most of this is fairly close. And as I go, I don't push as hard on the trigger of the caulk gun as the crack gets smaller, and I also use the speed of the gun to help. And I want to get this. There's just a little bit here of a gap along here that I want to make sure I get filled. The paint, when I go back over and paint it, it may take care of some of that, but it may not get all of it. So here you can see an example of a really wide, fairly wide crack. And so then I just load up there we go. And a quick wipe, and then I keep a rag with me to get that off of my fingers then. Alrighty, very good. And then I'll hit these cracks here just to make sure they're full. This one's almost hard to see, but I'll go ahead and fill a little bit of that one too. And this one I'll probably have to run a little more caulk in. There we go. That's much better. And down there at the bottom a little bit right there. And that looks good. Alrighty. Good deal. Here's this pink putty that you're supposed to mix up every time after you've let it sit. And when you first get it, you do a lot of kneading. It's a kneady product. And then it was 2 days since I'd used this. So I just put it on with the edge and then wipe it down. Whoops, I got up into the caulk. I didn't want to do that because that messes, I just caulked that and it isn't dry yet. But anyhow, I need a little more. I get it on the edge so I can hopefully get it up in there without messing with the caulk. This stuff sands pretty easily, so I'm not, I mean, sometimes I really scrape it really hard. I don't know, I guess it depends on how I'm feeling right then, I don't know. But anyhow, well, I gotta readjust it on my knife because it's not. Whoops, there we go. And I forget how long it takes this stuff to dry, but anyhow, it turns white. That's what I like about this product. It turns white when it's dried, so you know. So you know. I'm gonna do a little bit of the base here while I'm recording, so you can see me doing that. All right, 2 more holes. All right, that section of base is done. Let me get this section of base too. How low can you get? Well, I tend to have a bass voice, so that's how low I can get. Catch the trim on the side of the door there. Oh, there's that bee that was buzzing around here. Or is that a fly? I guess that's a house fly. A huge, or horse fly, whatever you call those things. A horsey house fly. All right, well, I'll be back when it's time to sand. That gives you some idea. And hopefully this isn't real shaky, although I'm sure it does a little bit. So this is much better. I tried to do it holding the camera with one hand, but the hat cam here, I think is a much better way, it seems. Of course, once I look at the footage, I'm like, ooh, that was awful. Sometimes I go back over it, especially if it shrinks in. Back, here's my, I don't know, sponge sanders. I'm not sure what all they call these things. This one was made by 3M, but it's kind of a interesting shape and it works really slick. So I'm ready to start sanding the base here, getting ready for painting a final coat on it. And so I use this angled part on the top, and it doesn't take a lot. This is just for roughing it up a little bit, so the paint will stick, and it's for sanding where I filled in the putty. And it needs to be somewhat leveled off to the paint level. You don't want to leave it sticking above. And so what will happen then when I paint, I use the roller again, and when I roll it, it puts that same, that little dimple effect so that it looks, you don't see where I had, otherwise if it didn't, you would see, if I brushed this on, you would see kind of a dimple, and then right here you'd see brush marks and a flat look. And we don't want that. We want these to blend in the best it can. So oh, I have to prime these ends also. I forgot. I can do that either now or once I've sanded. And that's what I'll do once I've sanded it. This is pretty clever. These fit right in here in that channel. I think I forgot that edge. It's easy for me sometimes to forget where I'm at. There we go, that's better. It doesn't need to take a long amount of sanding, just a quick sand, unless there's areas that it's sticking where it's not even. Like there's one where I think it's just caulking. So I usually can fingernail that off to where it looks a lot better. Well, sometimes. Yeah, vacuum up all the dust that I created on the base and around the trim and stuff so I can paint it. Here we go. Okay, now we're going to prime anywhere that the wood had been cut. So I have for this kind of a particular situation, I keep I have a small brush, high hiding all-purpose primer. So I just want to get all this
this wood edge. And in this room, it's only the trim above the doors. Some rooms there's some of the base has edges that show that were cut. And so obviously primer is to prep the wood so that the real paint, the finished paint, not the real, but the finished paint, so that the finished paint will adhere and stick to the wood. So there we go, that does that. Let's try this other side. I don't know if the lighting will be such that you can see it, but you can see with a little brush, this really goes fairly quick. And depending on the directions on the primer, I see there's a couple spots here that I need to fill a little bit, and primer will tend to fill those gaps a little better. Try to keep as much as I can off the wall, but as you can see, it does get some. And there we go, alrighty. And as I was starting to say, it depends on how long it takes this primer to dry. Most primers dry pretty quick as to when you can go over it then with finish paint. And then once I've got these done, at some point I'll go back around probably with this same brush and I'll cut the green back in. I tend to be able to, some people cut it back in the other way, do the green and then the white. In this case, I'll probably I'll have the white done and then I'll cut the green into it. That's pretty good. And let's get a little more paint. Cool. That wasn't so hard, was it? And then I see there's a little bit of a gap there. I'm going to try to fill that with the primer. There we go. Anyhow, something like that. But here you see a box taped to the door. You might go, what the world is Dale doing there? Well, we didn't have stops, door stops. So I taped the box there so that when people come in here, you can see there's just a little bit. It got bumped a time or two, and then I put that in there. And you can see that's my door stop.
Hey friends, good morning. Dale here, 3 Generations. Hey, I'm redoing something I'd done yesterday. This morning I had uploaded my videos from yesterday. Well, this morning when I uploaded everything, the final coat painting, it would not upload. It said it wasn't a video file. It plays fine on my iPhone. I think if I could get it in the Final Cut Pro, it would be great. But I have not. Final coat. Now, I say final coat. Eventually, I'll have to go back and give it a touch-up, because there's places where they'll mess it up in putting the flooring in, the various things, and there'll also be where the certain floorings are. We'll have to. This was already done, but I'll give it just a little slight. Try to blend it in there so there's nothing showing. Where
the wood floor, or the on our side where the LTV luxury vinyl, I guess this is tile, maybe it's planking, I forget, I get those mixed up. Where those go, they had to put shoe molding down against the LTV, and so I pre-painted the shoe molding, and then depending on how they nail it, I've done it when they nail it with these little pin nails. What I have done is I just paint it. The pin nails are so small that the paint just fills in that gap. But on our side, they got a little carried away. And in that carried awayness, it blew holes in it. So I did some caulking there. And I may have to go back and caulk it again, because the holes were so big that it's going to take more than one. Some places I'll have to do a second caulking, or go back to the wood putty. And then I just run this up a little ways. I mean, I'll run over it with the roller too, but here at the bottom, I don't like to get the roller into the floor, even though I swept it. If you may have noticed, I swept this much of the dust and dirt away from the edge. So if I do get down there, I'm not picking up a whole ton of dirt, but I still don't. I want to try to keep from. And so there at the bottom, I'm trying to get down there really close. So I keep that pattern of the roller all the way, because if I don't, I mean, down there it's not going to be real obvious, but I just don't want it to show if I can keep it. There's probably places that it will end up. So nice. I think that's looking pretty decent. Now I'll go over here to this door, show you that yet. So I can, I got to brush first. Okay, let's brush. I usually do this side of the door first. So I go ahead and I brush this all in, so I get these edges. And I brush this whole top piece. But then I go back, I'll show you here in a second how I do it with the roller then. The doors and the windows, I'll come back later, probably after the floor is done, to do those. I can put a drop cloth down and keep it off the floor. But I like to have the stuff along the floor done, so it's just a touch-up job rather than a huge job. Then I go up here to this above the header trim here, and even though I had brushed that, I go through here like this to give it that, make sure that this pattern, this divot, whatever you want to call it, shows back up. I mean, it'll show partially, but I want it. It's not wanting to roll. I don't want to push too hard and get paint running. But anyhow. There's a spot. I don't know if you can see it. The paint's a little thick there. I don't want it quite that thick. Okay. You get an idea there how I do it. And I forgot to do, I usually run this first. I'll have to, I try to get these little crevices that not quite enough. I didn't get enough caulking in. I try to get them filled up now. I mean, later on, if it's too bad, noticeable, I'll go back and oops, there I got a little wide. I knew that would happen with the camera on. I can't talk and think, concentrate on what I'm doing very well, but anyhow, you get the idea. There we go. Now I just see those brush marks. I just need to take care of those. I don't want much paint in the roller. I just want to put those marks back in. Whoops, there's a hunk of dirt or something. There we go. Yeah, there's a little bit much paint right there.
Hey friends, thanks for watching. Hopefully this wasn't too boring. I guess you're already gone if you thought it was. But anyhow, I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.